Nandipha Magadumana's father and a former G4S employee going to be appearing in court this morning. We understand they're going to be charged with aiding and abetting a fugitive. It relates a lot like a movie escape, doesn't it, with Facebook rapist and murderer Thabo Bester. There were two suspects arrested yesterday, and of course, on the story from the very beginning and following through today, senior reporter Slendelo Masekana, there she is, on the steps of a court in Bloemfontein. Hello to you, Slee. So just give us a sense then of what do we now know about those going to be in the dock today?
Well, essentially, Gareth, what we're seeing today is the beginning of what I can describe as the net closing in on those who may have played a role in the escape plan and some of the fraudulent activities that took place behind bars when Thabo Bester was at the Mangaung Correctional Centre. Now, of course, we know that a couple of weeks ago, in the middle of March, Ground Up released an expose with the information they had with regards to an elaborate, calculated escape that took place on the 3rd of May 2022, which involved Facebook rapist Thabo Bester as well as Dr. Nandipha Magadumana, who at this stage we understand to have been in a relationship with Bester during his time in prison. Now, the two who are appearing today, one of them we understand is going to be Magadumana's father. We spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, in fact, when Magadumana as well as Bester essentially disappeared and fled from their Hyde Park hideout. And he was telling us how he was worried about his daughter, how he, quote, knew what was happening in Johannesburg, and that his last conversation with his daughter was the fact that she was in hiding. Now, we understand that over the weekend, it seems that police in KwaZulu-Natal arrested Magadumana's father as well as a former G4S security employee who we also understand on the day of the escape was actually not supposed to be on duty. And given some of the social media posts we've seen online, it seems that he, subsequent to the escape, had been also living quite a luxurious life. Now, let's just take a listen to the spokesperson for the SAPS with regards to the appearance today in Bloemfontein.
We believe that these two suspects, both the G4S, the former G4S employee and the man believed to be Dr. Nandipha Magadumana's father, are the masterminds in aiding and abetting this convicted prisoner to escape from lawful custody. So we do believe that these two suspects that have been arrested over the weekend by our investigating team do have a case to answer. To the 65-year-old man who is in police custody, who was arrested on Friday by our team in the Eastern Cape, is Dr. Nandipha's father.
All right, so that's the story as far as her father is concerned as well. But Slee, also tell us about Nandipha's brother. You spoke to him as well.
Yeah, we had a conversation with Nandipha's brother, that's Nkosinathi Sekeleni, who was giving us his account as to what he knows or doesn't know about what has transpired essentially over the past 2 to 3 years. He says that the Hyde Park home, which Magadumana shared with Bester, he and his wife lived in that home in 2021 between March and May. He says subsequent to that, Nandipha then informed them that they need to move out because Bester was just not happy with them living there. He says he had a number of conversations over the phone with Bester, but at the time he was introduced as TK Ngwana, one of his aliases, and that they had never met in person. But he says that he had a number of conversations with him over the phone. He said that he did some digging for himself and then found out that in fact this TK Ngwana is the infamous Facebook rapist Thabo Bester, and he says he just simply doesn't understand or know how his sister got involved with Bester. but believes that she perhaps is suffering from what he calls Stockholm syndrome, but also telling us vehemently denying any involvement in any part of the escape plan or any of the activities that were taking place, saying that in fact he was the one who tried to alert the police back in 2021 of the relationship between his sister and Bester, saying that he also gave information to Ground Up, and also saying that his cries essentially fell on deaf ears when he was trying to alert authorities about that relationship prior to the escape, saying perhaps if somebody listened to him, then Bester probably would still be in prison. Let's take a listen. Let's talk about your father. Are you aware that he's been arrested?
My father, when did I become aware that he was arrested? On the news. Yeah, I'm aware that he's been arrested.
Have you spoken to him?
I don't know what the charges are, though.
Are you concerned about your father? Are you concerned about where he is? Do you know where he is?
Of course I'm concerned. He's my father, and he's diabetic along with my mother. And I want to know what the charges are. And then if he is implicated in anything, we have to leave it to the law to play its own course. You know what I'm saying? Mm. Yeah, and we are also at ease when we found out that he's with proper police people.
All right, so that's the family members, both father and brother. I suppose the big question South Africa has this morning as well, Slee, is Dr. Nandipha's associates. Do we know anything about them? Are they saying anything? What's the latest there? And, of course, the delegation, then the team that have gone over to Tanzania to bring them back. Where are we on that?
So I'll start with the delegation that's gone to Tanzania. We have information or received confirmation that they arrived in Arusha and are in talks with their counterparts in that country. The delegation from South Africa comprises of legal experts, the NPA, law enforcement, as well as officials from the Justice Department. Now, you would have seen yesterday in the late afternoon, I had received word from one of our sources about one of Dr. Nandipha's associates. That particular associate released a statement yesterday under her foundation, Dr. Pashi Foundation. She is known or associated with Dr. Nandipha. They have spoken at each other's events, in particular one back in 2020 or 2021, if I'm not mistaken, that was hosted by Dr. Pashi. Dr. Nandipha was one of the speakers, and there has been questions raised around the disappearance of Dr. Pashi's passport. She seems to have received a new one a couple of days ago, and our sources tell us that in fact she the police in essence have been battling to try and get a hold of her, but seemingly she presented herself to the Brooklyn police station yesterday. I understand she's given a statement with regards to her association with Dr. Nandipha. I understand she's distancing herself from knowing anything about the escape or fraudulent activities. But one of my sources has told me that she is somebody who the police are looking into because it does seem as though Dr. Nandipha was borrowing money from her. One of the phrases that was used was that Dr. Pashi seemed to be the financial muscle between the two in the relationship. And whenever Dr. Nandipha would seemingly need money, run out of money, Dr. Pashi would be the one to provide it. So we'll be getting more details, digging a little deeper into perhaps what else the police may know or whether she is a person of interest. But from my understanding, police have been looking for her, and she has now presented herself to the police. She's given a statement, and I think we will see in the next couple of days how that unfolds. But let's take a listen to Bheki Cele, the police minister, with regards to that delegation in Tanzania that's trying to bring back Bester and Dr. Nandipha.
At about 8 last night, I spoke to the team that has landed already they landed at Kilimanjaro, and then they were in Arusha. They will be taking matters forward. Maybe one can talk more about those matters that are there for. But it does look like up to that time that one is spoken, things are going well. Them coming back does not really depend on the team. It also depends on the legal processes of the other side. The team is from South African Police, is NPA, that is there, Home Affairs and Correctional Service. That's how team is made. With a team we trust is a team led by the Deputy National Commissioner of the South African Police. It's a high-level team. We hope they'll do us best and then they'll do us best to bring Bester back.
Any indication, because this is a pressing matter, if I were to push you, when do you anticipate that to happen? I know you say it depends on the legal processes from the Tanzanian side.
Well, we don't know, but we expect the team to be back today or tomorrow. What they would have negotiated, we'll be getting the report going forward. But we hope they'll go the best and they'll do the best.
Upon arrival, what happens to the two?
Well, the matter mostly will be the justice matter, really. Ours is to arrest those people. I think first thing that we'll have to do is to hand them over. One, I think, needs to go to the correctional service, belong to the correctional service, and one will have to follow the legal processes and all, and that both falls under Ministry of Justice.
All right, Slee, thank you very much indeed. No doubt we're going to be back to you again later and throughout the day as well on the steps of the courts in Bloemfontein. The big story, Nandipha Magadumana's father and a former G4S employee going to be appearing in court this morning. You would have heard, by the way, from the police minister, Becky Cele, talking to Siphamandla Lagoge. There were a few time references in there. That interview took place yesterday. So that was on Monday, that interview. So when the minister was referring to the team arriving yesterday, that was actually technically Sunday, and expecting an update when he said tomorrow. Obviously, when you look at that today, the update will be later today. So if there's any confusion around the time references, that interview with the police minister was done yesterday.